Welcome back to Take the Leap Management, the podcast where we explore the leadership theories, frameworks, and strategies that shape how we manage people, projects, and organizations. Today we're diving into Contingency Leadership Theory, a model that challenges the idea of a single best leadership style and instead argues that leadership effectiveness depends on how well a leader's style matches the context and environment in which they operate. In other words, great leadership is not about having a fixed approach, it's about adapting to the situation at hand. Contingency leadership theory emerged as a response to earlier leadership models, particularly those that assumed certain traits or behaviors made a leader effective in all situations. The idea that leadership must be adaptable to the environment may seem obvious today, but at the time, it was a significant shift in how leadership was understood. Instead of assuming that one style of leadership was superior, contingency theorists emphasized that different leadership styles work best in different contexts. A leader who thrives in one setting might struggle in another, not because they lack ability, but because their leadership style may not fit the specific demands of that situation. One of the earliest and most influential contingency leadership models was Fiedler's contingency theory, developed by Fred Fiedler in the 1960s. Fiedler argued that leaders have a natural, preferred leadership style, and their effectiveness depends on how well that style aligns with the context in which they are leading. According to this model, leaders generally fall into two categories: task-oriented leaders and relationship-oriented leaders. Task-oriented leaders focus on structure, goals, and efficiency, while relationship-oriented leaders emphasize collaboration, team dynamics, and employee well-being. Neither style is inherently better, but each is more or less effective depending on the situation. Fiedler introduced three key factors that determine how well a leader's style fits a situation: leader-member relations, task structure, and positional power. Leader-member relations refer to how much trust, respect, and rapport exist between the leader and their team. If the leader has strong relationships with team members, their ability to influence and motivate is high. However, if trust is weak, or if there is conflict, the leader's effectiveness is diminished. Task structure refers to how clearly defined the work is. Some projects have high task structure, meaning roles, objectives, and processes are clearly outlined. Others have low task structure, where the work is ambiguous, complex, or highly creative. Task-oriented leaders tend to excel in structured environments, while relationship-oriented leaders may be more effective in flexible, uncertain situations. Positional power refers to the authority a leader has within the organization. Some leaders have formal power, backed by clear decision-making authority, while others must rely on influence and persuasion. In environments where leaders have strong positional power, task-oriented leadership may be more effective, whereas in settings where leaders have little direct authority, relationship-based leadership may be necessary to gain support and commitment. According to Fiedler's model, the most effective leaders are those whose style matches the specific conditions of their leadership environment. A highly task-oriented leader will perform best in situations where trust is high, tasks are well structured, and they have strong decision-making authority. Conversely, a relationship-oriented leader will be more effective in situations where trust is low, tasks are ambiguous, and their influence relies more on personal relationships than formal authority. However, Fiedler's theory also posed a unique challenge. It suggested that leaders do not easily change their leadership style. Instead of expecting a leader to adapt, Fiedler believed that organizations should place leaders in environments where their natural style would be most effective. While this was a groundbreaking insight at the time, modern leadership research suggests that leaders can, in fact, develop the ability to adjust their style based on the situation, which is why contingency leadership theory has continued to evolve. Another major contingency leadership model is the path-goal theory, developed by Robert House in the 1970s. Path-goal theory expanded on Fiedler's ideas by suggesting that leaders can and should adapt their style based on what their team needs to succeed. According to this theory, leaders play a critical role in helping their team achieve goals by clearing obstacles, providing motivation, and offering the right level of support. House identified 4 primary leadership styles within path-goal theory: directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. Directive leadership is similar to task-oriented leadership, where the leader provides clear instructions, sets expectations, and closely monitors performance. This style is most effective when tasks are complex or when employees need structured guidance to complete their work. Supportive leadership is more relationship-focused, emphasizing team morale, well-being, and creating a positive work environment. This approach is beneficial when employees face high stress or when the work requires collaboration and creativity. Participative leadership involves seeking input from team members and involving them in decision-making. This approach is effective when employees are experienced, knowledgeable, and motivated to contribute to strategic discussions. Achievement-oriented leadership focuses on setting high standards, encouraging innovation, and challenging employees to push beyond their limits. This approach works best with highly skilled, self-motivated employees who thrive under pressure. Unlike Fiedler's model, path-goal theory emphasizes that leaders can change their style depending on what their team needs at any given moment. Instead of trying to fit a leader into the right situation, leaders can develop flexibility and adaptability to respond effectively to different challenges. Contingency leadership theory is particularly useful in project and portfolio management, where conditions are constantly changing. Project managers must navigate shifting deadlines, evolving stakeholder expectations, and different team dynamics. In some cases, a directive approach is necessary to ensure strict compliance with regulations and deadlines. In other cases, a participative approach is best for brainstorming creative solutions or fostering innovation. The key is knowing when to use each leadership style to achieve the best outcomes. For portfolio managers, contingency leadership is equally important. Managing multiple projects means dealing with a variety of teams, stakeholders, and organizational priorities. Some projects may require a more hands-on approach with strong oversight, while others benefit from a collaborative, empowering leadership style. Portfolio managers must assess each project's unique demands and adjust their leadership approach accordingly. One of the most practical applications of contingency leadership theory is in crisis management. When a company faces a major disruption, such as an economic downturn, technological failure, or supply chain breakdown, leaders must shift their approach based on the urgency and severity of the situation. In a crisis, task-oriented leadership often becomes critical, as teams need clear direction, immediate decisions, and firm leadership. However, once stability is restored, leaders may need to transition to a more participative approach, ensuring that employees feel heard, supported, and engaged. Despite its strengths, contingency leadership theory is not without challenges. One of the biggest criticisms is that it assumes leaders can accurately assess each situation and choose the right leadership style in real time. In reality, leaders do not always have complete information, and decision-making can be complex and unpredictable. Additionally, some leaders struggle with adaptability, finding it difficult to shift between different leadership styles. However, leaders who develop self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and decision-making agility can overcome these challenges. By continuously assessing their environment, gathering feedback from their teams, and refining their leadership approach, they can become more effective in a wide range of situations. At its core, contingency leadership theory teaches us that leadership is not about rigid formulas. It's about understanding context, responding to change, and leading with both strategy and intuition. The best leaders are not those who apply one universal style, but those who develop the ability to adapt, adjust, and align their leadership approach to the unique demands of every challenge they face. Thank you for joining me on Take the Leap Management. If you found today's discussion valuable, subscribe and share it with your colleagues. Leadership is not about sticking to one approach. It's about knowing when to lead, how to lead, and adapting to what your team needs in every moment. Let's take the leap together.